Hello and welcome back to the Warwick F1 show. We've had the first race of the season in Bahrain, but we're not moving it out of the Middle East just yet. We are going to be previewing the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the fourth running of the race at Jeddah. Joined the calendar in 2021. I think fair to say with quite a chaotic race. And has stayed on the calendar ever since. We'll do a quick preview and then, as ever, make our predictions for the race. So, Will, Saudi Arabia, what do we think? I like it.
It's enjoyable. Like, last year wasn't amazing, but it was still good fun. Like, you don't know what's going to go on. You get the odd safety car.
It looks incredible.
It's an amazing spectacle. I just hope we get a little bit more overtaken than we did last year. It was a bit stale last year.
Yeah.
But I think with how close the field are, you might get that again this year.
Yeah, so we did have 2021 with all the chaos.
2022 was
good.
Yeah,
2022, the battle between Leclerc and Verstappen. We kind of robbed of...
the dream we thought we'd have all year.
Yeah, then it all went wrong. Kind of robbed of that battle in 2023, Verstappen's issues in qualifying, and then Perez winning the race. But Callum, what do you think? It's a good track.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those tracks where obviously very tight and technical for all the drivers. So it's like what Will was saying. Really, it needs the midfield to be quite packed, I think, for it to be an exciting race, because it can have a lot of difficulty overtaking and not a whole lot in the way of like kind of long straight lines to have straight line speed to be much of an impact. But I think from what we saw in Bahrain, when it was the midfield was as close as it was and it can maybe be as varied as it can be, there's definitely, I think, a lot of potential for chaos as we saw in 21 and 22 without a doubt.
Yeah, an exceptionally kind of high-speed street circuit. Few changes have been made to kind of make visibility a bit better, but seeing the cars go kind of that fast around corners is always something that is a spectacle, and I think it should hopefully be as good this year as well. So, do you want to dive into the predictions? So, if you listen to our Bahrain review, Will has taken an early lead. 8-4-4. Me and Chinmay are on the same amount of points. Callum, you're subbing in for Chinmay today, and you get the first pick. So what we're doing is rotating the first pick. We each have to pick a different driver to finish in P1, and then doing the rest of the top 5, and each of us can take whoever we want to finish second to fifth. But yeah, so Callum, who have you gone for P1? Now,
do I even need to say?
Yeah.
I should apologise to Chinmay in case this goes extremely poorly, as I realise I've got the points in my hands for this race. But yeah, I think, Verstappen's the obvious choice, isn't it? It's after the dominance shown in Bahrain, that plus 20-second lead. It's I guess we can hope maybe internally for maybe a bit of difference, just to see someone different take the top step. I was maybe thinking of Perez as an alternative, as I know he's he likes the street circuits and he can be very comfortable in obviously winning the race in previous years. But yeah, I think Verstappen is the obvious choice, so I'll go Verstappen for P1.
Okay. That feels like the obvious choice, and this is where it starts to get difficult, because you've got to think about where you want to put the rest of your drivers, as opposed to maybe locking one out in P1 who isn't maybe likely to get the win. So, you know what? I'm giving him credit for his performance in Bahrain, and I'm going to keep the momentum going. So I've gone for Sainz P1.
Oh, you stole my choice.
This isn't necessarily who I think will be P1, because I also think it's Verstappen, but. So I've tried to be strategic about it.
I was hoping you get Perez.
No.
That's the sneaky P2 pick.
I don't think necessarily Sainz will win, but I don't see why he couldn't. Especially, the Red Bull is quite far ahead, especially in the hands of Verstappen. But if it gets pegged back for whatever reason, and Sainz can keep up his early seat or his form from the last race, it could be a close one.
If it's anything from last race, he'll certainly be up there. And if by some
I know
maybe
Verstappen
miracle that
just, like,
Verstappen,
yeah.
he'll definitely be in contention. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm gonna go Lando Norris.
Oh.
It's very similar to Suzuka in terms of high speed, like not necessarily long straights that you mentioned, but it's those high speed corners that McLaren last year were really good at. This year will be quite good at, I think, again. Why not? I mean, I think they'll either be right at the front or they're not gonna like go anywhere. Like they won't be in that top 5. It's gonna be one or the other. So I think I like Piastri. I think he might struggle with tyre wear a little bit, might struggle with pace. Just this early season while he gets used to the car. But no, I'm going to go with Lando Norris to get his first win on the streets of Jeddah.
Is that more of a hope than a...
That's
than
not even a hope. That's I'm being strategic here.
Yes.
I like you said, I can't see anyone but Verstappen winning this. I don't think Perez wins it. I don't think Leclerc will win. I think Ferrari were a bit weird here last year, although they're better now than they were. But it's all very safety car dependent as well.
Yeah.
Especially around Jeddah. So
Red flags.
we saw last year that Ferrari were like looking okay. There was like a decent battle at the front, and then the safety car came out, and both Ferraris ended up 7th and 8th and had no pace.
Yeah. It is a very safety car dependent track. We had one every year.
We definitely did.
In 21.
Or no, did we? Or did we just have red
No,
flags?
it went safety car, then red flag, which was our...
Yeah, because it was
controversy.
who benefited. It was Verstappen
yeah.
who benefited from
Yeah.
that. Yeah, from the Mick Schumacher DNF.
Might not have been one in 22, actually.
No.
But yeah.
There was last year because Stroll crashed.
No, he didn't crash. He just
Retired
retired.
on the outside of a corner.
Yeah. And then they had to pull out a safety car.
Certainly likely.
Yeah. Great. So, Callum, we've got 2 to 5 left to do. So do you want to do them?
Yeah, sure. So, second, I thought Perez, as I mentioned, I was considering him for first place, maybe if I didn't get the first vote. But as I said, he favours street circuits, winning previously, and if it's anything like the dominance from Red Bull that we've seen, well, from first race of the season, also last year, I think he's definitely a good contention pace-wise, unless obviously anything else changes. A bit like what you said, I'm going to stick with the confidence from the first race and go with Sainz P3. I do think that he's driving with a lot of confidence, and personally I favour him over Leclerc. Obviously there's a debate in that, but I'm going to go with Sainz P3. Norris P4. Again, not sure if that's more of a hope, or I'd like to. I'd definitely like to see him up there, and I think McLaren do have started strong from the first race of the season compared to maybe where they were in previous years, where they've been nearer the back and then they've had to play catch up for the rest of the season. I think Norris could definitely be up there, or really either of the McLarens, given the race circumstances. But yes, Norris P4, and then P5. I was thinking of Russell, but then I remembered to last year, and I thought maybe that's not the wisest decision, but I thought maybe Mercedes would be up there, so I went Hamilton P5.
Okay. So, as I said, gone Sainz P1. I've followed you and Perez P2, and I think this might be a running theme throughout the year, especially if Red Bull look dominant. But I wouldn't say he's maybe guaranteed a P2. It was close in Bahrain, and Ferrari potentially having those issues with Leclerc. I think at the moment it seems the Red Bull is the fastest car, but I think a lot of the difference is Verstappen. And there will be races at which Perez might not finish P2 on merit, but as I said, I don't think this will be one of them. So I've gone Perez P2, Leclerc P3. So, I mean, just the other Ferrari to you. Like, I think Leclerc P3 could be a position that he finishes in a lot this year, especially as if the Red Bull does improve and he gets those 1-2s. And then I've gone Norris P4 as well, but I've gone Piastri P5. So I think, like you said with McLaren, I think they have potential here, and we kind of didn't really see what they could do. Well, I forgot to say Verstappen. I may have forgotten to say, but you know what? You know what? I'll stand by it. Not in the
Verstappen crash up
If
First
not
half of the race,
yeah,
you
not-
had it first.
You know what? That's a mistake on my part. Yeah, it's quite a bad mistake on my part. I'm gonna stand by.
Good.
Stand by. I can't change it
You
now.
said it now. It's
And
on
no
the
faith
record.
in the Mercedes.
No. That's actually one of my later predictions.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I may have forgotten to say Verstappen. You know what? No, I wasn't a mistake. I meant it. Not going to be in the top 5. He'll retire for some reason.
If this happens,
If this comes back next week and he's retired, I'm going to look like a genius. An accidental
What? Yeah.
genius, but a genius
Or
nonetheless.
extremely lucky. One of the two.
until you realise that both Mercedes finished 1-2.
As long as if it's Lewis P1, I could not care less about this. I would just be the happiest person this weekend. But yeah,
Well,
so
Saudi Arabia was the last race he won back in 2021.
one awful last race to win. But no, okay, I'll stick with that
Cool.
top 5. Made a mistake,
Well,
but
I'm gonna go with what I thought you were doing.
oh,
But I'm gonna go Sainz P2,
okay,
Leclerc P3,
okay.
Perez P4, and Verstappen P5.
Oh,
Because I think that way Verstappen's going to end up in the top 5. But I feel comfortable that the Red Bull and the Ferrari are far enough ahead of everyone.
yeah,
But I think if it stays on form, I think the Red Bulls are better. Well, I think Verstappen's faster than Leclerc and Sainz, but Perez will kind of be there. But I think if there is a big change, then that McLaren could win. I think the McLaren's got a better chance of winning than the Ferrari, but I think the Ferraris have a better chance of beating Perez if it stays the same.
Higher up, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see that McLaren when it's like they've already struggled around Bahrain, so I want to see them get to some tracks they're good at and see what they can do.
We'll have to wait till Austria
But yeah,
and GB.
so 1, 2, and 3 point predictions. Who wants to start?
Yeah, go on. Am I doing all of them first?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
So for the 1 point prediction, I'd say safety car. I'd say it's almost a given with the nature of the circuit being very tight and narrow. The wall's always close to the drivers. Obviously, you've had previous safety cars like Leclerc and Mick Schumacher have crashed out in that one tricky corner, and so I think that's a very likely to happen. Second one, perhaps a bit boring, but Red Bull 1-2, similar to my predictions with the form that Verstappen is on, and also how good Perez is around street circuits. I'd say I'd put that as a 2 point prediction. And then for the 3-point one, I said that 3 drivers would go out on the first lap. Actually, can I change it to 3 or more drivers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
Okay,
yeah,
right, that's
that's kind of
right.
what
So
we've
3
done.
or more drivers out on the first lap. I feel like there's going to be some chaos on the first.
Very
lap, so-
specifically 3. I'd be willing
Fourth drivers go.
I'd be willing to give you more points
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
wanted to bank on that one, but no, we normally would
I think
go
Chinmay
3 or
might be a
more.
bit annoyed if you said, no, it has to be. When there's 4, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
No, they sound good.
They
I
sound
think
good.
all of those are fair. I think the 1-2 being a 2-pointer, like I do think Perez should be,
But you
but it
never
might
know.
not happen.
You never know.
It'll be Perez, which is the decider in that.
And
factor.
inevitably, when I am right and Verstappen doesn't finish, then
It's a
what we
win-win
can
for
say.
you.
Right, I've gone for a collision at turn 1, but at any point during the race.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like when I say collision, not like a bump of wheel, like not but a bump. We'll judge it, but like more than a bump of wheels. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be. Like if someone just
Yeah.
piles into someone else, then that counts.
Yeah.
I've gone for because I've looked at the weather forecast, the classic for
It's going to rain.
my predictions. It's not going to rain, but apparently
Is that
it,
your 1 point?
it is quite windy. So I'm going to go for wind-related DNF in quali or the race.
Okay.
So
They've misunderstood the weather.
well, it's more
The
there's
wind catches them out.
someone
kind of thing.
someone crashes and wind is
Yeah.
assigned blame
Yeah. Cool.
for my 2-pointer, and then for my 3-pointer and going off my top 5, I've gone for both McLarens to beat both Mercedes. For a 3-pointer,
That's. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I guess.
but I can change it to McLaren outscore Mercedes by 10 plus points.
Okay. Yeah. I like that more.
Yeah. Okay, so change McLaren outscore Mercedes
Because
by
they
10
could finish
plus
like
points.
5th, 6th, 7th, 8th,
Mm.
and then that could happen quite reasonably.
Okay, cool.
That would be my argument. Okay. Right. My 1 point is a bit of a rogue one.
Okay.
During restarts or at any point in the race, or at any point during like a restart or like safety car, 3+ cars cut the first corner in some way, shape. Like they just straight line it basically.
Is it so if there's more than one, are we
so
saying
it's like cumulative
yeah.
across all of them, but like 3 drivers will do that at some
Okay.
it has to be at a restart of some kind.
Okay.
So it could be safety car, red flag, or
New
start.
start or something.
or
Yeah.
the start.
Mm.
So, but three or more will just kind of avoid, like, won't make an attempt to get back on the
It's
track.
like when you watch F2 and they
Like
just
Lewis did at Bahrain a few years ago. Not Bahrain, Abu Dhabi a few years ago. With
Yeah.
Verstappen.
or Saudi Arabia a few years ago. I mean,
Yeah,
he was
what
he was
Verstappen-
avoiding a Red Bull going really
what
quick.
Verstappen did basically in 2021 at Jeddah, where he just straight down the chicane.
That was
So that'll be my 1 point.
okay.
My 2 point is that I think this might be a 2 point. One team will have a double DNF.
No, I'd say that's a 2-pointer.
Yeah.
It's DNFs. They're getting more and more difficult to kind of come
Yeah.
by.
Specifically, the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my 3 point will be that in the race, the
Okay.
top 12
Yeah.
will finish in pairs of teams.
Okay.
So 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2.
Okay.
Kind of backtracking on what I said for my predictions, but
Yeah.
it covers me a little bit.
You know what? I
Control bases.
actually saw someone mention that at I saw someone mention that regarding Bahrain, because I think if like one of the McLarens and one of the Mercedes had switched, it would have been 2 by 2
For the top 10, yeah.
for the top 10. And at least the stats guy I follow said that had never happened before. But he couldn't find.
So
So,
I've never
made it
heard of it
difficult.
any.
yeah. So you made it difficult for yourself.
Oh, well, it's fine.
And
Can't get a
I'm-
perfect weekend, but well.
If you get perfect weekend out
I
of this-
physically can't.
Oh, can you not?
Or I predicted Norris to win, and then I had Ferrari 2-3.
I mean, I've not predicted Verstappen, so we've all made errors here. Okay, so do we want to run through them quickly, Callum? What have you gone for overall, just as a reminder?
Was just covering the top 5.
Yeah,
and
just
yeah. So
everything.
Verstappen P1, Perez with the Rebel 1-2, Sainz in P3, Norris P4, and then Hamilton, the front Mercedes in P5. For my 1 point, I've gone for a safety car at any point in the race. For my 2 pointer, I've done Red Bull 1-2, obviously the same as my predictions. And then for my 3 pointer, I've done 3 or more drivers out on the first lap, hoping for a bit of chaos, as been seen in the previous years.
Okay, I've gone Sainz P1, Perez P2, Leclerc, Norris and Piastri in 3, 4 and 5. A collision at turn 1 for my 1 point prediction, a win-related DNF in a competitive session for a 2 point, and then McLaren to outscore Mercedes by 10 or more points for the 3.
Nice. And then I went a Norris win, Leclerc, then Sainz, then Perez, then Verstappen, with my 1 point being 3 drivers straight line turn 1, or the chicane.
Over the
Not
race
turn 1, but
on
like, it's
restarts.
technically turn 2, I think. Yeah, on restarts or start. My 2 point was that one team would have a double DNF, and my 3 point would be that the top 12 are
Noah's Arking
Yes.
themselves. 2 by 2.
2 by 2 all the way down to 12.
But yeah, so that has been us for today. We've uploaded our Bahrain preview if you want to go back and look at what we spoke about for the first race of the season, and we have also covered, or we've also uploaded our news, and there is a lot of news to talk about, lots of stories. So would recommend giving that a listen, but as always, thank you for listening.